Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Stop.Sit.Surrogate with Kennedy and Ellen.
Hello.
We have three wonderful guests today, and this is our last Friday Facts of the year. So thank you, ladies, for joining with us.
My name is Alicia, and I guess I'm a first-time surrogate. I ended my match this spring after 2.5 years, and I had 4 transfers, one of which was a missed miscarriage, and another was a chemical pregnancy.
I'm Grace. I'm on my second journey. It's a sibling journey. I delivered one surrogate baby in October of 2020. She'll be 2 years old 2021. I'm sorry. She'll be 2 on Thursday, the day before this podcast goes up.
Yeah.
And then we got pregnant in March of 2023 and unfortunately had a 16-week miscarriage. And I have a transfer date coming up in just a few weeks on November 8th.
Awesome. Yay, congratulations.
That's exciting.
I am Tara. I say second time surrogate, third time surrogate. I gave birth to 2 surrogate babes, and I had a miscarriage at 16 weeks as well.
I know that this conversation can be hard for those possibly listening and for those that are in the conversation. So we will tread lightly, but I feel like it's an important topic to talk about because it's not talked about a lot. And all you ladies have done your stories. That's first. So everybody,
That's true.
so everybody can go listen to each of your stories. Amazing. All right. Well, I don't even know how to begin this kind of topic. Obviously it's never something that any of us surrogates go into thinking, hey, we're gonna have a loss of any type or a miscarriage of any type. Can we start by asking how you all are now?
I'll go. I think mine was like the furthest in the past. My missed miscarriage was in August 2021. It was Friday the 13th that we found out. So I've been a little superstitious since.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I've had a lot of time to process, and then I had a chemical pregnancy last September, so 2022, and I was a lot more prepared with that one. It was the last embryos, and it was a double transfer, and so that hit hard in a sense that we weren't sure if we were going to continue. But it emotionally and physically was not as challenging as my first one. And so I feel good now. I've had a lot of time to process, a lot of healing. I've had, a lot of support calls and therapy, and so I'm in a good headspace.
Good. That's good. And you're Canadian surrogate, right?
Yeah.
So this was like an independent journey.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So there was no added bonus of possible agency support. I know I was here for your story, but maybe others weren't. Because you touched on it, can you just briefly explain, and we'll go into it a little bit later, what a missed miscarriage is?
So I had never heard of this before, and I knew that miscarriage was a possibility going into it. I didn't realize that it could quite happen this way. And so at my 12-week ultrasound, we found out that baby had stopped growing over a month before. And so my body just didn't realize, and it never kicked in. So I still had symptoms. It's possible that was mainly the meds. But basically, my body did not realize. And so I had to treat that like with medical treatment. So there's medication, or there's surgery, or I guess a procedure. And so I ended up having to treat with both. I shared this in my story. At a really hard time accessing treatment.
Yeah.
And we'll definitely touch on it again in a little later, but thank you.
Mine was actually also classified as a missed miscarriage.
Is it really?
Yeah.
As yours too, Tara?
Yeah.
So for both you ladies, then how long? You both said it happened 16 weeks. when did baby really stop growing in their best guesstimate?
Yeah.
Exactly at 16 weeks.
Oh, yours was exactly at 16. Okay,
Yeah.
how about you, Grace? Could they tell?
The baby measured like 15 and a half weeks, and I was checking the heartbeat every day, and I
Wow.
hadn't heard the heartbeat in like a day and a half.
Mm.
But it's that your body doesn't recognize and doesn't do anything.
Right.
So I I ended up carrying the baby for an extra week after I found out that it had passed,
Mm.
and still my body did nothing about it. So had I not discovered it, who knows how
Right.
long that could have gone on.
Yeah.
Well, then I had a missed miscarriage, which I never knew that was the term. They never used that back then because I had the twins and the one stopped growing. And we didn't realize it till we went in for a scan
Oh,
and we
interesting.
didn't see baby B's heartbeat. I'm like, well, where is it? Yeah. So, wow. And they guesstimated that that baby stopped growing at 10 and the other one, we were at 12.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
That's
Very
interesting.
interesting.
So they termed it. Wow. They gave it a name. Okay.
I wonder if it's just such a taboo topic that, you know, instead of explaining how they found out or what happened, people tend to just say we had a loss.
Mm.
Yeah.
Because and you know, I can share more on this later, but like I ended up sharing publicly because people knew I was pregnant, and I had a lot of women who reached out with similar experiences.
Wow.
And like I was like, how had I never heard of this? So
Mhm.
Right. Because
Right.
it
Yeah.
isn't talked about. Right. Nobody wants to. No. Yeah. Yeah. It's hard. That's a hard one. It is.
But are you ladies, how are you guys doing
Right.
now? Tara, I know yours is a bit more recent. Actually, I think Grace,
Mhm.
yours is recent too, right?
Yeah, mine was in June.
Yeah.
I think Tara was a little bit after me.
Yeah, September,
Yeah.
the
And you,
beginning of September. I couldn't find him on the Doppler. And sure enough, when I went in, they couldn't find his heartbeat.
Oh,
oh, I'm sorry.
it's so sad.
Oh, how interesting though that you both had Dopplers at the house
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
you guys registered it before going to your appointment. That's interesting.
Tara, did you do that with your first two Surrobabes? Did you Doppler and
I would
your
check on it every so often, but I would try to like not ever do it too often just to ease my mind, because I've had a few times where my first two
Mhm.
babes where I would be like, where is it? Where is it? And I'd find it. I was like, oh, okay, don't you ever do that to me again. And
Right.
then this baby, I had gotten him every single time, like right away. And then all of a sudden I wasn't finding him. And I was trying for hours. I was like, okay, pushing on it. And I had texted Grace and she was helping me through it. And she was like, oh, well, try all these different positions. And I tried and I was like, oh no, this is not going to be good. And I just knew that night. I was like, this is not going to be the way I hoped the journey was going to go.
Right.
And sure.
Grace, did you Doppler your first Surrobabe?
I did. I didn't get my Doppler until maybe around 16 weeks, but I used it fairly often throughout the rest of the pregnancy, just like Tara said, to ease my mind.
Yeah.
can I ask, were you both scheduled to have an ultrasound already, or was it scheduled because you couldn't find a heartbeat?
Yeah.
It was, I wasn't scheduled to have an ultrasound for a few more weeks. I think we confirmed the loss on June 16th, and my next ultrasound wasn't scheduled until July 13th. So I had a few more weeks till I would have had an ultrasound, but I had an appointment at my OB for a follow-up from something else. They had prescribed a medication. So I went in to follow up from that. And my appointment was supposed to be on a Monday, and I called and moved it up to that Friday when I couldn't find the heartbeat that morning, and I hadn't been able to find it the night before. And I didn't tell them why I wanted it moved up. I just said it worked better in my schedule, because I feel like sometimes they're like, no, you're fine, you can
Right.
wait. And I didn't
Right.
want to wait, and I didn't want to have to go to the emergency room or anything.
Yeah.
So luckily I had that appointment and just moved it up. And now that was my first, that visit wasn't my first encounter with my OB, but this pregnancy was my first time with this OB, and they were amazing through the whole process. So I think that I have that trust with them now. If there was any issues, they'd let me just come in.
That's good.
Good. That's good.
That's reassuring. Yeah. You don't,
Yeah.
you don't want to have to go in, but yeah, very reassuring. Wow. Tara, did you just call and say I need to come in?
Yeah, I called labor and delivery. I was hoping I was going to be seen by them because I don't like the emergency room. It's terrifying to me because I feel like everyone is, of course, it's an emergency. It's an emergency room. So everyone's like rushing in, taking vitals. I don't like that. It's too much for me. I wanted to go to labor and delivery, but they're all relaxed and very calming, and they deal with women who are pregnant all the time. But unfortunately, they had called and said that I would be seen by them, but she heard me wrong. She thought I said that I was like 32 weeks, but I was also crying on the phone. So when I went in there, it was actually the emergency room that was going to see me. I was like, which they were nice, but they had gotten my hopes up because they thought they had found the baby's heartbeat, but it was actually mine that was racing, like going 114 beats per minute, which is still not good for baby. But it had given me hope. I was like, okay, well, something like maybe they could like give me a shot or something, make the baby's heart go faster or something.
Yeah.
And then sure enough, I had another ultrasound. I had the Doppler, couldn't find anything. And that's when I knew. I was like, if their Doppler can't find him, he's not okay. And so I looked at Logan, my husband, and I was like, he's not okay. And then they did the ultrasound, and they're like, oh yeah, maybe. Don't do anything yet. Don't call anybody. We might have a heartbeat. Like, okay. And then another ultrasound person came in, the specialist, the one who can't say anything, even though I can literally see the screen. I can see that he's not moving and his heart is not beating.
Right.
And I looked at my husband and I was really sad. And then sure enough, the doctors came in to let me know that he had stopped growing at 16 weeks. And I was going to be 17 weeks that next day.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
So it was almost a week. Wow.
Yeah.
I wonder how long it really was. Well, it had to have been because because he was always measuring ahead for me. He was always measuring 2 weeks ahead, just a big baby. And then I had my appointment at 15 weeks and 4 days. So like right before, and everything sounded really good. His heartbeat was higher though. And I always wondered, I was like, is that okay? But they never said anything. But his heartbeat was like 175, I think. I was like, whoa, it's like really going. But I think normal range 120 to 170. I just thought maybe that was a little too high, but nobody was ever concerned.
Wow. So it was right after that 15-week 4-day appointment. Like,
And
right
it makes me like wonder because that day on 16 weeks, I remember it's weird because I remember that whole entire week's like it was yesterday of everything that I did, like what happened. And I remember feeling the baby kick a whole bunch that Sunday, which was when I was 16 weeks. And I had texted the dad saying that he was kicking. And yeah.
Weird.
It is.
Very weird. That reminds me a little bit of, I believe, Alicia's story, where didn't you go in for like an appointment and then it was a couple weeks, it was like right before when they said baby wasn't measured. Like that's just weird.
So I had my heartbeat confirmation at 7 weeks, 2 days.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or 7 weeks. It was around 7 weeks. Anyways, and so baby was measuring 2 days behind, and they said that wasn't an issue, no concern. And so at my 12-week ultrasound, they said that baby was measuring 7 weeks, 2 days. So likely would have stopped like the day after.
Yeah. Just so interesting that like nothing for both of you showed up bizarre or raised any concerns, and then within days or hours, who knows? It's so
It might be a hard, I'm going to ask it. And if you want to cut it out, you can. Did anybody have testing done to find out what the cause was?
For mine, they did.
They did?
And they said it chromosomal issues, and that's sad for the parents. I can understand nobody wants to hear that their baby had chromosomal issues, but as a surrogate, you want to know that you didn't have any issues. She had said my uterus looked beautiful, all my blood work, my urine, all the test results, pathology came back and looked great. So it was just unfortunately an issue
Yeah.
Right.
And now I have a question with chromosomes. Like, so since it was a chromosomal issue, was like embryo not tested?
He was tested, but I don't think that it was the highest grading of testing.
Okay.
I don't know if that has anything to do with it. How
Maybe.
my doctor explained it was just like if there's a chromosomal issue, like the baby just like stops growing, like it realizes, okay, this is not gonna work, like done. I was like,
Mhm.
oh, really sad, but understand of how that works.
Yeah.
That's what mine was. They said
Mhm.
parents didn't want to do anything with that deceased fetus. And so my doctor knew how upset I was. And he said he would send it out for testing and get back to me. And he did. And it came back as chromosomal because I needed to know
Mhm.
how could I carry the one to full term and what happened. So
Right.
you were right. It, as sad as that is that it's chromosomal and parents don't want to hear that because it genuinely is their, biological children.
Yeah.
As a surrogate, that really helps with the healing process. It did for me anyway.
Mhm.
I kept feeling guilty until those tests came back, and I was like, okay, then I did do what I was supposed to do because I'm still carrying one of them, right? It
Mhm.
was just an odd. It was a really weird pregnancy, very weird.
My intended parents chose not to have the fetus tested. It
Okay.
was going to be extremely expensive, and they felt like the embryo had been tested anyway. And at that point, we'd already had the NIPT test and everything. So that
Wow.
came back all good. So they felt like even though that all came back good, the baby tested well as an embryo, they felt like it must have been an issue with the baby. And we did have my tissues tested and everything was good with mine.
Oh,
Um,
good.
so not any issues on my end, but they chose not to test. And one of the baby's parents, one of my intended parents, works in assisted reproduction. So he knows that that just happens sometimes. And they just didn't see that they should spend the money on that.
Yeah. Oh no. Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
When
Get
you
that.
say that you had your tissues tested, you mean your uterus?
They
Mhm.
tested everything they took out. So the placenta, I'm not sure if they tested like the cord, but just any tissues that came out, they tested those and made sure that everything was good. And like I had my blood drawn so many times that week, and I'd already had it drawn so many times during pregnancy. So it it wasn't an issue with my blood work or anything like that.
Right.
In my case, I ended up taking the medication.
Right.
So I passed it at home. And so I had asked my intended parents, and I don't know if they would have felt differently if I opted for the DNC, where it would have been easy. But because I was passing it at home, like the doctor said, I would essentially have to like collect it myself
Yeah.
and put it in.
Oh my- Collect what?
Just
Like tissues,
yeah.
if we wanted to test it. And
Oh,
from
if you
home.
wanted to test it.
If-
Yeah, which
because
we did not.
She passed it at home.
Right.
Yeah.
Passed the fetus at home.
Yeah.
Very
Wow.
interesting.
Wow.
But like also like I can't help but wonder as well now.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
when something goes wrong, like, you're driving on the freeway and I know this is like a bad analogy, but your tire blows up and you're like, oh yeah, okay, the tire blew up because I went over a screw or whatever. But you don't have a definitive answer
Mm.
when something, and you're like, well, wait, what did I do? Or how did it happen? Or you can make yourself go crazy. I had to get a little therapy back then because I was like, I don't understand. And every day, because I had the second twin still in,
Mhm.
every day I held my breath. Is it gonna happen to her? Because it was a boy and a girl. And I mean, yeah, hardest, I don't know. It was very, very difficult, very difficult. And then once we went and delivered that baby, it was just like, okay, I can breathe now, but very stressful, very, very stressful. Either way, it
Was there
happens.
for you, like, was there a risk of having the one?
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
It's just risk either way.
yes, because baby, how did he say it? Baby B was the one who passed. And
Mhm.
if he let go, he could take baby A with him.
Wasn't he bottom?
No, he was top.
Well, he was tall.
So he passed, right? He's still stuck onto his placenta because that's how they brought him to me, like totally formed little baby. And if he aborted, I hate to use that word, but that's the way, aborted on his own, there was a possibility that baby A could be taken as well. Like she would abort because he was aborting. And I was like, God almighty. And I'm like, well, can't we just get, and they're like, no, you got to stay this way. Okay. Yeah.
Wow.
But
Yeah.
how many weeks were you when you found out?
Right. He was 10.
But
He
how
was
many weeks
10.
were you?
Oh, I was 12. 12.
It's a
So
long time.
2 before, my body didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Didn't do anything because I believe I had the 10-week ultrasound and we went back in for the 12 because I was going to be released to my OB.
Mhm.
And I ended up staying with the fertility doc for a little bit longer just to make sure that she hung on. And then I was released a couple weeks later. I don't know if it was around 16 or 15, but yeah, weird. So yeah, he had stopped growing before I even knew it either. We saw the screen. I'm like, well, where's the heartbeat? She's like, well, hang on a second. And I'm like, well, no, because I've had enough. I know. Hold on. And yeah, sad, very sad.
Um, okay, so now we dive into the hard stuff.
Yeah.
If you guys don't want to answer it, you don't have to. I don't want to
Yeah.
make anybody feel uncomfortable at all.
Right.
Okay, so when you guys go in to see your doctor, to the emergency room, anything like that, and I'm assuming they're giving you your options, right?
Mhm.
That's what happens. They list you your options. And my understanding is, I believe your IPs weren't like next to you guys. I think Grace, you had to call. Tara, I think you had to call. Alicia, I kind of
Mine
forget.
were next to me.
Yours were next to you. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but when it comes to making, did you guys have a choice? I know Alicia did. She got to choose if she wanted to use pills or something like that. I kind of forget how were your emotions? What are the steps for you? It's
Right.
not your it's so confusing, and that's what becomes, I think, kind of like a little jigsaw puzzle for people to understand is, well, wait, why are you affected? It's not your baby. Okay, well, we're the ones pregnant. So what I'm trying to get out of this is like, how are you guys feeling? How do decisions get made? Type situation.
And how was that phone call for Tara and Grace?
Yeah.
You guys are picking up the phone, aren't you?
All of
Yeah.
that was complicated in my situation. Not calling the parents. They're in Israel, so it was the middle of the night for them. So I told my agency first. My coordinator didn't answer, or case manager, so I called the agency owner and told her what was going on. I have a pretty good relationship with her too, and she gave me some advice, and I told her that I wanted to tell the parents myself, and then I was able to talk to my case manager and told her that I wanted to tell the parents myself. And then I called them and told them what was happening, and I think they were pretty shocked.
Yeah.
And it's the hardest phone call I've ever made.
Yeah.
Were they supportive, Grace? I do know, I remember your story, but were they supportive?
They were very supportive. They felt so terrible that they couldn't be here with me. And it's still, I'm sure we'll talk about it later, it still is isolating, even with the support. And but as far as options, mine was complicated. They wanted me to be induced. The other option was, I felt like the baby was too big for a D&C, but I did not know there's a D&E that they can do. And my case manager asked me if they were going to do that, and I was like, I have no idea. They told me I'm going to be induced. So that's what I had intended to do, and I got everything ready to go be induced at the hospital. And when I got there, they essentially told me they did not feel comfortable inducing me because they were worried that my placenta had adhered to my C-section scars and that I could bleed out if I was induced, and they didn't have the equipment there to take care of it, and that they would prefer that I had a D&E, but that no one around where I live does D&Es. So
So
that's why I had to.
you're prepared that morning to go in and possibly get, kind of move to the next step. And then you're told, yeah, no, that's not gonna happen. We have to find somebody who can actually perform that, and it's gonna take a while, right?
Yeah, I ended up
Yeah.
being at the hospital that day for 4 hours. It was horrible. And then they sent me home, and I spent that week seeing a whole bunch of specialists, and I ended up at a very high caliber hospital in Stanford. If you guys have heard of the university. I
Mhm.
always feel like Stanford, have you heard of it? Um, but they sent me to Stanford, and which I'm super grateful for because I know that I had the best possible care, and they were able to rule out the placenta accreta. That's the condition they were worried about. And every step of the way, I was like, please save my uterus. Anything that you can do to save my uterus. And at Stanford, they were like, oh, well, we don't know, but we'll do what we can. I was like, no, you will
What?
save it.
I know.
I will wake up with all my parts.
Yeah.
Oh my
And
gosh.
and I did. So it was very complicated. It was a very difficult week, but that was the outcome. We had a D&E.
Can you just touch on D&E?
Mhm.
People know what people hear of D&C very often, but D&E I think is a bit more rare.
Although I love science, I am not a doctor. And from what I understand, a
Yes.
D&C is like they dilate your cervix and kind of scrape things out because everything's so small. But a D&E, they dilate, and it's for dilation and evacuation. So they suck most things out. And then if they need to scrape anything, they will. But from what I understand, I did not need that, luckily.
And you're under for that, right? You're
Oh,
anesthetized.
yes.
Okay.
Oh,
Thank you.
good.
My paperwork said twilight, and I said, I don't know what that means exactly, but I will not be awake for this.
Right. No,
Yeah.
thank you. Mhm.
No thanks. Oh,
Propofol is our friend when we have to be twilight. That's the drug. Like, oh, thank you.
yeah.
Mm. Wow.
Tara, what about,
Yeah.
did you, did you make the phone call? I thought you did, yeah? Or no?
Me? Yeah, I did.
You
Mhm.
did.
Yeah.
Right.
I told them, well, I told one dad, he was really sweet to me on the phone at the time. And then he told the other dad, 'cause I in the hospital, it's like so like the reception is horrible. So I was getting like 1 bar, no bars, 1 bar, no bars. And I could get on the Wi-Fi. So I was like, you can either FaceTime me or I can text you.
Right.
So he was able to call me. I called no, he was able to answer the phone. I had called him, told him what happened. We were both screaming, crying on the phone. So yeah, we were both like wailing on the phone, crying. And then he told the dad because he was working. And then as for like making the choice, I let them decide of what they wanted me to do. But then the doctor had called and told them like everything that had happened, just so they could hear it from a doctor's perspective, not like, hey,
Yeah.
she came in and something, blah, blah, blah. Like they know the full story that from a doctor who's not going to lie about anything.
Right.
And she asked them, what would you like her to do? Do you want her to deliver vaginally, or do you want her to have a D&C? And they said that it was up to me. And then after, oh my gosh, it took me forever to decide what to do. I kept telling the doctor, like, these are both awful choices. I don't want to make either of them. And since it was so late in the day for me, well, not so late in the day, it was only by noon by the time I had gotten the results and was trying to make a decision. I had already drank water and I had eaten just a small amount, but they're like, well, we can't do a D&C at this time. So you'd have to go home. That's what I decided to do because of the risk of bleeding out afterwards and then needing to have a D&C anyways. So I just decided to have the D&C, even though I did not want to do that, and I ended up bleeding pretty bad after. I lost a lot of blood. It was really, really weak afterwards. I could barely even get up to put on my clothes after. It was so bad. Even after my C-section, I've never been that weak. And I stood up and I immediately like went back down and my lips were gray. I have pictures. It was not. I had
Did you have to get
all over.
Did you have to get a transfusion or no?
No, I didn't need one, but I lost a lot of blood. She's like, yeah, you lost a lot of blood. You're going to need to be on iron for a while.
Yeah.
So I've been on that.
Oh, still. Oh,
Yeah.
well, yeah, it's only October.
Yeah,
Yeah. I feel like it's happened forever ago.
I know. I feel like that too. I feel like September was like so long. I
So
was like,
long
just
ago.
be done.
Yeah. Is the iron wreaking havoc with your body, or are you able to?
No, it's been good so far.
Good, good.
Good. And your husband, both your husbands were with you, right? Grace and
Mhm.
Dad, right? So
Yeah.
those were okay. Because those were your grounding people since your IPs weren't there.
Mhm.
Okay. So then after both of you have that done, then you guys go home and you recover, correct? That was the next step for you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mine was away from home, so
Oh, that's right.
we went to the hotel and got started on Suits, the TV show.
Oh.
Many episodes of Suits and some comfort food, and
Yeah.
How far from home are you?
it was about 4 hours from home.
Wow.
Oh yeah,
That's a long drive.
That is a long drive. Right after that, no.
Even like, yeah, after something like that.
No.
Yeah, they told me I could go home, but I asked my agency if I could get a hotel because I just did not feel like I should be in a car
Yeah.
for that long after that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that.
no.
No, thanks. Mhm.
No. And then Alicia, you had your IPs with you. Yes.
Mhm.
So you all found out together.
Yeah.
Okay. And then did you guys decide collectively that you guys were going to use the pills? Or
No, no,
Okay.
it was entirely my decision.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, there's no baby at that point, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
right,
No.
like I don't think intended parents should really have a say in as far
Yeah.
as that
Okay.
goes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I mean, mine were super supportive regardless.
Yeah.
It took me a while to make the decision. And what happened with me was I had a midwife, and midwives aren't allowed to treat that.
Mhm.
But my family doctor didn't know that I was pregnant. And my RE, like the fertility doctor, was in a different province. And so he said he couldn't treat me.
Oh my gosh, that's right.
And we have a patient portal for the province. And so my results from the ultrasound should have been uploaded right away, but they didn't do it. And I was the last appointment on a Friday.
Oh,
So
God.
everywhere I tried to call said they couldn't help me without seeing results and confirming that, that was what happened. And so I had to wait until Monday. I had tried going to emergency rooms, but I live in a big city and like they're just so crowded. And so I had a male triage nurse tell me I wasn't having a miscarriage because I wasn't bleeding. And
Oh,
told
come
me
on.
it wasn't an emergency, and if I really wanted to stay, it'd be about an 18-hour wait. So I left.
I
Yeah.
would have left too. I would have left too.
Yeah, and like I'd stopped all of my hormones at that point. Like I was pretty like hysterical. Like I'd just been sobbing for days. And so I called the early pregnancy loss clinic that we had Monday morning. And then I had to wait for them to call back the next day. So I waited. They called back, said I could have an appointment like the following week. And I couldn't wait that long. And so finally, my midwife was fantastic though. She checked on me the entire time. And so finally I decided I was going to go to an emergency room and just get treated. And my best friend is a doctor. And so I was asking her, I was consulting and was like, these are my options. I can take misoprostol, like the pills to induce a miscarriage.
I had to take that.
Yeah. Or I can go and have a DNC. And so I asked her what her opinion was. And she told me that she was at a dinner with 8 of her colleagues who are all doctors.
Wow.
And she said, do you want me to take a poll?
Yes.
And so, and also I really had a big fear of anesthesia, which was a really big consideration for me. And so they unanimously said that it was worth trying the medication because baby had stopped growing so early on. I would have a good chance with success and I could be comfortable at home. Well,
Yeah.
not really comfortable. But anyways, so I went with the medication. I did the medication, had an ultrasound a couple days later. It wasn't successful. I went back to the hospital. I had to take, 2 more rounds of the medication, 24 hours apart. I come home from the pharmacy and find a notice on our building that the water is getting shut off for construction the next day.
No way.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, well, I can't have a miscarriage without plumbing.
Oh my
I had
God.
to wait. Finally, I had a month later, a month after my last dose, I went for a follow-up because I wasn't feeling well and I still hadn't gotten a period.
A month after?
Mhm. A month
Your
after.
last dose.
Okay, I'm just
Yeah.
making sure I have this right because I remember your story, but I
It
just
was-
want
yeah.
everybody to hear it was a month
What?
after your last dose.
Yeah, so this is about 5 weeks after my ultrasound where we found out.
Uh-huh.
Oh my God.
And so I go for the ultrasound and it was inconclusive because they saw a lot of stuff in my uterus and they said that I would have been due for a period. So they were unsure if it was just my period that was going to come or if it was retained products of conception. So I went for blood work. My results got lost for 4 days.
Of course they
I
did.
thought everything was fine because I didn't get a call. And I was like, well,
Yeah.
they said it was urgent at this point. So I'd like already was like, okay, then clearly everything's fine, or they would have told me. Anyways, and so then I get a call saying I have to urgently go in for a DNC. And like much like Tara, I had just eaten something.
Oh,
And so I had to go the next day. They were really good though. Like I went to a small town hospital an hour away from my city. My midwife had called. They were the emergency room I kept going back to. They were incredible. They knew I had a fear of anesthesia, and so they took the time to explain it. The anesthesiologist came to see me and like talk me through it. And I got the propofol. Is that what it's called?
propofol.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it worked really well. I didn't have the side effects I was worried about. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, well, that was
So
very long
that's
drawn
just
out for her.
wild.
Yeah.
Because hold on, I want to get everybody's timeline right.
Yeah.
Grace, you had, after you found out, it was a week, right?
Mhm.
Tara, yours sounds kind of immediate.
Yeah, mine was the next day, and even coming home that day with the baby that did not have a heartbeat,
Yeah.
I was not okay. Like
Yeah.
being home, I sobbed and cried, and it
Yeah.
was really hard. So I can't even imagine Grace
Five.
and you, like, because that was already, I was not doing well at all. I was like, this is torture.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And then Alicia, you were 5 weeks.
5 weeks.
Just thankfully, nothing happened to both Grace and Alicia during that time. I know, Grace, you were kind of being watched like a hawk. Just Alicia, like that's just the
Like,
most
can't you go
wild.
septic?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'd been like warned of what all the signs were because at that point it had been 11 weeks since the heartbeat stopped and my DNC. Yeah. I was like also like Tara, like I was also like sobbing. I didn't realize how hard that would hit.
Mhm.
And like I sobbed when I saw that you had your loss because I've been following.
Mhm.
But like when I went into the emergency room, like it was COVID, and so you weren't allowed to have support people and stuff. And I walked in and like I just like wasn't trying to hide it at that point. I like was like hiccuping, sobbing, and I just sat in a chair and waited. And they're really great. Like they could see I was really distressed. And so they got me a private room immediately. And a nurse came and asked for my husband's number and they called him and they said to come wait with me.
Oh,
It was
yay.
like
Good.
so helpful. Yeah.
But for every day for 5 weeks, you were like, I'm just what?
Well, I thought like after my last round of medication, I thought everything was fine. Like it wasn't a lot that was left.
Okay.
So I thought it was okay. Like when I did the first round of medication, I bled a lot.
Okay.
Really heavily. That was just an awful night. But then like I almost stopped bleeding the next day. And then when I did the other rounds of medication, I didn't bleed much at all. So I assumed just everything was gone. It wasn't much. So like those next few weeks wasn't, I didn't know. Like we had our
Okay.
first family vacation planned.
Oh, wow.
And so like I went on vacation.
Oh my gosh.
We passed by my intended parents' city, and so like we ended up going to have dinner with them, and
Wow.
like we drank and cried together. It was really nice to see them.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Golly.
I want to go back really quick because Terry, you said that you took the pills
Mhm.
before you had a DNC. Grace,
Yep.
did you do that too? Is that common procedure? So you take the pills and then you have the DNE?
I think it's to start loosening things up.
Oh,
Soften my cervix, she had said. And I was really scared to take that. Like it was taking everything in me to take that pill. I was so scared.
wow.
How much
Why
did you
why
have to
were you
take?
Because
Because when I went, the pharmacy kind of treated me like, shh.
shiitake mushrooms? I got you.
Really?
And apparently, my doctor told me later as to why they did that, because apparently Walgreens is very like anti-abortion. And I was like, well, my body and whatever. It's not like I wanted this. You could clearly see I had a bump, and then here I
Yeah.
am getting that, and they're probably thinking. So I
Oh,
felt
Yeah.
really awful about that, and they didn't tell me like the side
You
effects. of
looked
what
like you were
to do.
sobbing too, right?
Yeah, I was like not okay that day. Like I had just found out that the baby had passed away, and then I have to go pick up this prescription. And they're like, we're gonna have to get approval for this. This is abortion medication.
Oh my God.
I was like, oh
whoa.
yeah.
So
So I'm
bad.
just sitting there crying, pregnant. Well, I don't know. Have a bump. Not, I don't know. Still
You're
pregnant.
pregnant. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
pregnant. I mean, you are pregnant.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, how very interesting. It'll
I
come
took
back.
that medication as well, and it worked a little bit, but I ended up having to go in for the DNC. I was with twins at that. I had a DNC with a
They
separate
made you
pregnancy.
they made you take the pill even with twins?
Yeah,
Mom,
that were,
You
two different-
did not. You are on a different story. Please
I
let the
am two different pregnancies. Two different
Okay.
pregnancies. I
Oh.
said that. Two different pregnancies.
He's,
Two different
it
pregnancies.
was not the one where the
Oh, no, no, no.
girl
Not
was
with that
still
one.
alive.
Nope. It was a
Just
different
make
one where you
that
had
really
twins.
clear, please.
It was the one it was the same family, but it was right
Yes.
before I had, yeah, it was that one. So the pill and then the DNC. Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't
Okay.
work all the way.
Glad we cleared that up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened
I have a question
Yeah.
for the other, well, I guess everyone but Kennedy. Sorry
I
to leave
know.
out
I
Kennedy.
feel out of the. I feel so weird.
No, it's a good club to be in. Yeah.
I
Yeah,
know.
it's-
Just
Yeah.
But
But
sometimes it still feels surreal. Like I can't believe that happened to me. Do you guys ever feel that way?
yeah.
Like I never imagined. I feel so terrible because they say 1 in 4 pregnancies ends in miscarriage, and I was
Very
thinking, oh, I'm not one of those, and then now it has happened to me, and it's terrible, and it feels like yesterday, and it feels like 10 years ago, and it feels like an out of body experience almost. Like I just can't
Mhm.
believe that happened.
It is. It is. It's very hard to. I'm a A type personality. I think all you guys are too. I'm overachiever. Like I want it. Like when it happened, I was like, no, we have to get this fixed so we can do it again and get something going here. Yeah, let's go. Yeah. And then it happened in that second pregnancy we ended up getting. One of them passed away. Like that family had lost big time. But yet, how is it affecting the surrogate? And that's the bigger picture, I think. I totally feel for the intended parents, but I really think there's something lost on how it's affecting the surrogates, because it really does hit home with
Mhm.
like deeper than people think, way deeper.
Well, can you guys elaborate on that? Because
Yeah.
I mean, the goal. I'm hoping that one of the things people get out of this who
Yeah.
aren't surrogates or who don't understand is that it doesn't matter that it's not our baby.
Right.
We're responsible. We feel responsible for this life, and we're the ones going through it. So unfortunately, I can't speak on this, but I'm curious if you guys could touch on that as the fact that you
I
have
think that-
emotions.
I think part of it is that maybe we're upset because we don't know how we're supposed to feel. At least that's how I felt. How am I supposed to feel? right now. Not only that it's a baby that I miscarried that's not mine, but also it's a second trimester miscarriage, and I fully felt pregnant. Even afterwards I was like, am I postpartum? Like what do you call this period of time? And it I know it's not the case for everyone. Like Tara, I know this wasn't necessarily the case for you, but my intended parents were very supportive and very concerned for me, but they weren't here. So grieving was hard. Maybe I was confused as to what I was grieving. The pregnancy, the experience, being able to fulfill my mission, as I like to call it, and then being concerned for the parents that lost their baby and wanting to grieve with them, but they're so far away. And also I wanted to give them their space to grieve as they felt right. And then I felt a little isolated in what I was going through. And luckily we have an amazing community of surrogates that I was able to chat with and that reached out. And even people, I had shared my pregnancy before the beginning of it. Everyone knew that I was having an embryo transfer, that I was pregnant, people in my personal life and in my professional life. And I had all of this care and support, and still it was really hard and very upsetting.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm happy though that you had, because
Support.
as you had mentioned, Tara has a different side to that, but I'm happy that you had IPs and an agency and people that you could fall back on, even though I'm sure it's still isolating because they're not understanding. They're not the surrogate. They're not the one whose body's physically going through it. But
And carrying that baby for a week without a heartbeat, I cannot even imagine.
yeah,
That would have messed me up so bad.
yeah.
I just keep thinking about that first night. I cannot even imagine having to do that for an entire week. I'd be like, no, you need to help me now.
I did ask for a prescription of Valium.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. Right when you were at the doctor's, like, and they told you, so that way you could go home, or
When they sent me home, I was fuming in the hospital when I went in for what I thought was the induction, and I was so upset. And I wanted to, I think I told the doctor, can I just sleep for like 5 days and you can wake me up and it'll be over? And she was like, well, it doesn't really work like that. And I said, I know it doesn't work like that. I get it. That's just how I feel right this second.
Right.
So we actually got in the car and I said, no, hold up. I'm going to ask them for a prescription of Valium just so I can sleep. I just want to get some rest. I just want to relax and sleep. So I asked for, they gave me 5 pills. I'm not really into taking stuff like that.
yeah.
But in that case, I just wanted to get
And
some
see,
sleep.
I think they should have just offered it. They saw how distressed you were.
Right.
So you having to have that forethought in the state of mind that you're in during this crisis, and you had to stop the car. Wait a minute, I'm gonna go back in and ask for something to help me.
Well, they did not even offer me water. So
Are you
they
joking?
didn't offer me anything.
Oh my gosh.
It's that stigma, I think, with some of the medical professionals not understanding that surrogacy is, the surrogate is a very large part of that. Obviously, you couldn't do surrogacy without the surrogate, obviously. So when something dramatic like this happens, of course the surrogate's going to be affected. Like, she should be the number 1 priority. I understand the IPs should also be number 1 priority, but I really think that the surrogate, just a little bit, she's the one going through it, as you all have said. She's the one dealing with it. She's the one waiting 5 weeks, 1 week, 1 night. Like, I just need, the medical world needs to be educated a little bit more as well. It's not where it needs to be, especially in difficult situations like this. It's just not. And you're all left hanging there to deal with it yourselves. It sucks. Sucks.
Sarah, you do not have to talk on it if you don't want to. I don't want to make you feel uncomfortable or make you sad, but would you want to touch on the isolation that some people might feel. I know I love you.
If you're okay with that, I cry.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
If you're okay with it, you're gonna make me cry, Tara.
Yeah.
I didn't have any support from my intended parents.
Oh,
So they were okay when you called them, but then something switched.
Yeah,
Okay.
what?
Okay.
yeah, they were not there for me, unfortunately. So it was just me and my husband.
Mhm.
Did your agency step in at all, Tara?
She had messaged me once and just said, I'm sorry that you have to go through this and let me know if you need anything, and that was it. It was only once. Nothing at all. I was like,
Yeah.
set up a therapy session for me, something,
Right.
help
Yeah.
me.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
But nothing. And I looked for therapy on my own.
Oh,
Couldn't find anybody to take me. Somebody left me on red after I was told to reach out to him, and he knew about me. And he was like, oh yeah, I'll help you find someone, and never said anything to me again about it. So I was like, oh, I'm literally a surrogate dealing with a miscarriage. I need some help.
Yeah.
And did not have anybody.
wow.
I was just left to deal with it all on my own.
I'm so
Ugh.
sorry.
I am so sorry too, Tara. What about your medical professionals who were helping you get through the,
They
you
were
know?
really kind to me. My
Okay, good.
doctor had checked on me numerous times. She called me to make sure that I was okay. She was phenomenal about this.
Yeah.
It was just, I was expecting more out of everybody. And I understand that they were grieving as well. It was their baby.
Yeah.
But I had to do all of it on my own.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Not cool.
that's the unfair part, is that you were kind of just left
On
to
an island.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
like Grace said, isolation. I never realized how isolating.
Oh my gosh, it was
Okay.
bad. That first week, I would wake up in the middle of the night and just cry. And I didn't know what to do. I just felt so sad. I just couldn't believe that had happened. And I did everything right.
Yeah.
And I just
Yeah.
didn't understand as to why. And then no support. Not, how are you doing? Are you feeling okay?
Mhm.
Nothing.
Bringing a meal over, something.
Nothing. I
Something.
had a lot of friends within the community who were there for me. So that was really helpful.
Yeah.
Good. I'm glad that you had the community and your family
Yeah.
and your doctors. I'm glad that your doctors were nice to you.
Mhm.
I mean, it is unfortunate that the people involved in your journey weren't really there. And like you
Mhm.
said, I understand that they're grieving, but you're grieving as well.
Mhm.
And I know that you're the type of person who would check in on them and be like, hey, how are you guys?
Right.
You know, it kind of goes a little both.
And it was not met with very much. So I was like, I can see exactly where I stand here. Like, you've made it very clear as to how you feel about me. And
Oh,
Just a flip of a switch.
yeah.
is that match now broken, Tara?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. After that, I was like, I'm not going to move forward with people who do not care about my well-being.
Right. Right.
I understand you wanted a baby and I wanted to help you. We were supposed to be a team, and I would never do this to you.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. No, it's a perfect way to put it. You're a team.
Yes.
And like,
Yeah.
what a shame for them as well, because you could have been supporting each other.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'm
No,
so sorry, Tara.
I heard Grace like of how wonderful her intended parents were. I was like, that I'm so happy for her, but I was like, oh, all by myself. Like,
Yeah.
just my husband, which he was wonderful, but I just wanted just something from them, like
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
anything.
Right.
And I don't think that's wild to think of or
Mhm.
to assume. I mean, you're a match, right? You have agreed
Right.
to go on this journey together. You said it perfectly. You're a team.
Yeah.
Like
Team.
you're all in
Y'all
it
can't do
together.
this without each other, right? You
Right.
can't do it without
Yeah.
each other.
Yeah.
And then and I really find that you find people's true colors When everything's rosy and wonderful and puppy dogs and rainbows,
Mhm.
everybody's so happy. But when something goes down or wrong in families, in surrogate journeys, in any situation or any relationship, you really find who people truly, truly are and who has your back.
Mhm.
It's sad that we have to figure it out that way and we have to, but going forward, I know who has my back.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
And I hope you know who has yours, Tara, because you have a lot of people that do,
Yeah,
that
it
love
was
you.
really like surprising to me of how many people are there for me through this in the community. At first I didn't want to tell anybody because I felt like just ashamed that this had happened. Like we had just turned 16 weeks, and then I had told myself over and over that was not going to happen to me. Like I was not ignoring everything that negative of people saying, well, loss has happened. I was like, absolutely not. It's not going to happen to us. I'm not going to even think of that. And then it did. And so many people came with open arms to listen and send cards and flowers and here's a meal from my family to you are just super
Right.
sweet.
Very, very sweet. That's how it should be though. And that's how, and see that that's the trust that we can get in the community, right? It, it should have come from others, Tara. It should
Mhm.
have. It didn't. And I'm sorry it didn't. Because in this day and age, we're in 2023. It absolutely should have come from the other side.
Mm.
And your agency should have made sure it came from the other side.
Yeah.
Should
Yeah,
have.
I definitely
Something.
didn't really like me too much to begin with, and that just made me realize as to exactly how she felt. I was like, thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Like I'm really crushed right now. Devastated. I've never experienced a miscarriage before,
Right.
Right.
and to do it for
Right.
somebody to carry their grief, it just, oh my gosh.
Right.
Level.
Gosh.
Tara did say something though, and I'm curious if this is common, because did everybody feel some type of shame when this happened?
Yeah.
Yep.
Really? Can I ask, was that just like the go-to feeling, like guilt, or
Look, like Grace phrased it well earlier when she said that part of what she was struggling with was not knowing how she was supposed to feel.
Right.
And so I had all these emotions, like I had guilt, I had grief, I had so much. And then I really felt like I wasn't allowed to have those emotions.
because like
You
just
know?
like you yourself felt like you couldn't have those emotions, because your IPs were
Like,
supportive, right?
they were super supportive, but like
Okay.
as a surrogate, I almost felt like people wouldn't understand, or I didn't want to take away from my intended parents either. I just didn't really know where my emotions fit, and I didn't know what was normal in that situation. And I didn't have the big surrogacy community that I do now back then. Like I was in like one, public Facebook group, or not public, but like with the
Yeah.
intended parents, and
Fair,
like,
right.
not a place like that. I didn't have like my Instagram account where I'd started to really make friends with surrogates and stuff. Um, and so I didn't know what was normal. I didn't know, how much support, or like to who could I ask. I also felt like, people would kind of give me the blanket, like, well, you volunteered for this, or like, you knew what you were getting into.
You didn't
Wow.
hear that,
I
did
was worried
you?
about that. I was no,
Okay.
I was
Oh.
worried about that though. Sorry.
Okay. No, I hear you.
Yeah. And like afterwards, like my dad's not a fan of me being a surrogate. He's never outright told me so. But like he'll make a lot of comments of like, well, like, don't forget what happened. And so it's kind of this like there's like a lot that comes with it,
Mhm.
and it was really helpful. I did a lot of therapy. I was already in therapy for something else, but it's just turned into like pure surrogacy sessions for the following months because I couldn't.
Yeah.
And I yeah, like it also felt surreal for me. Like I cried a lot for a long time. And I think that the hormone drop is really intense.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, I can see Tara just
Oh, you both
Yeah.
nodded your head.
being
Can
like,
you,
I also was, and like I can't imagine you on top of it with feeling so isolated. Like I would just take a shower and like just sob for like a week straight. And I think part of that was just, it was the hormones, and I had a doctor warn me that it would be intense. And so the only thing that helped me was reminding myself that, like, as difficult as this is, the hormones are making it feel uncontrollable, and that is temporary. So
Right.
it's just
So-
my mind was like, this is temporary.
okay, so when you say the hormonal drop, so this is a different feeling than, because in my head, because I haven't experienced it, so in my head, I'm thinking, oh, you just gave birth essentially,
Mhm.
right? So it's going to be the same drop as postpartum. Is that true, or is this more intense?
It's
So
the same, but you have to put all of
All
the
of it
other
together.
feelings
Right.
on top of it.
Okay.
It's
It's not like postpartum and then happiness, there's a baby, it's postpartum and what the hell just happened?
Happened.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
okay, maybe Ellen, maybe you can correct me, but I heard that the pregnancy hormones in your body tends to peak at the end of the first trimester, and then the placenta takes over.
Correct.
And so the hormones in your body kind of ease up a bit.
Right.
So if you're having a hormone drop
Mhm.
around that time,
Mhm.
would it be more intense as postpartum?
Well,
Do we
You
the
were
lady-
first trimester, right?
you were first time. You were.
I was
weren't
12
you,
weeks.
you were still taking shots, weren't you?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're. I mean, that's a lot of injections, hyping up on meds, because you have to get to that point where your body takes over and the placenta
Yeah.
starts doing it. So, but in the 16-week ones as well, yes.
Yeah.
you're gonna
So like
be-
in theory, we all would have had higher hormone levels, right?
you would have had better ones, or what are you saying? I didn't hear
Higher.
you. Higher, yeah, right. And so they crash, they drop. Nothing else is.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
a complete.
Mhm.
Come
Right,
on,
because
nurse.
oh shush, I didn't do labor and delivery. But like if you birth a baby, right, and then you start to nurse that baby, there's different hormones, there's different things that are going on. So you don't feel the complete 100% loss of like all of the other hormones, because you're doing all of this and your body's naturally recovering. But this is like forced. All three. It was
Mm.
forced. Boom, done. It's like you turn off a light switch, or turn it, or turn it on.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
hard.
I cried so much that
Yeah.
the skin on my eyelids was getting
We're
raw,
burnt.
and like I had like a bit of blood.
Mhm.
It wasn't like dripping, but like just like it was like that raw. Like that's just how much I
That's
sobbed.
sad.
And Tara, based on your nodding, you know exactly what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
it was just raw from crying.
All the time.
I was in the room with my IPs on the one with the twins, right? Okay, I was in the room with one IP, and they're doing the ultrasound, and they
Which
find
time with the twins?
the one where the one lives, where the little
Okay.
girl lived.
Well, you have to specify.
Well, I'm getting there. They find her. They can't
Mhm.
find him. I'm spread eagle with the ultrasound, and I'm asking what's going on. They go out and get two of the docs. They come in, and they turn to me because I'm the one who's pregnant, and say, we've lost baby B. Dad jumps up, screams, "What did you do to me?" So right there, the blame was set. It was set. I was blamed, and I'm like, oh God, it is me. Oh my God. So it took a long time to get out of that,
Yeah.
and then
Did he ever
carrying
apologize
him.
after that?
One more time.
Did he ever apologize for that?
No, absolutely not. Communication stopped. And it did never picked back up, and they were told when I was going to the hospital. We didn't even tell them. We had the agency call them and say she's going in, and they missed the birth because they live 4 hours away. So whatever, it is what it is. But it was always the blame. I kept hearing him over and over and over again saying, "What did you do wrong? What did you do wrong?" Absolutely nothing, which was proven after I gave
Right.
birth to the little girl.
But to
Yeah.
go through the whole pregnancy with
Correct.
that in mind on replay, like, what did you do? What did you do?
Right.
And now you're like, well, crap, whatever I did or didn't do, I can't possibly do to this
Right.
little girl, like,
Right. Just waiting for that shoe to drop for her to.
Ever get pregnant to have something happen, like in the US we get compensated, that compensation stops. We literally sign up to carry a baby to get compensated. You think that we want this to happen?
right,
No, we
right.
have a plan. Have you have this baby, we get compensated. Like there's no ever or time that we're like, "Ugh, I'm just done." And my head doctor had told me that at that time for 16 weeks plus, it is so hard to make yourself have a miscarriage. He's like, majority of the time you would have to be doing IV drugs in order to be doing that, to have a miscarriage.
Wow.
Like it's not something you could just bump into and then have a
Right.
miscarriage.
Right.
Because I had told him, like, they stopped talking to me because I was telling him of what had happened and how sad I felt. And he apologized to me and he was like, I think that they're most likely blaming you. He's like, they have nobody else to blame. He's like, they're probably blaming you. He's like, it's not you, but
Yeah.
that's most likely as to what they're thinking. They have no other thought. And I had no idea what they're thinking. They're not talking to me.
Right.
Right.
So you at a double loss. You have the baby loss and you have your IPs. Just in one
Yeah.
in one fell swoop, boom,
Okay.
everybody's
Yeah.
gone. Wow.
Wow. It's a lot to
Sucks.
process.
It is. It's a lot of loss to process. Absolutely. Well, on hormones. Dealing with a loss of hormones. Let's put it that way.
Mhm.
Yeah.
My God.
And not to totally derail this, but you did bring up a thing that happens in the US, not Canada. We're compensated surrogates. So what happens with your contract now, Grace and Tara?
Yeah.
How does that go?
I got a prorated amount
Okay.
for the month that I was pregnant,
Got it.
that we lost the baby.
Okay.
They also it was in my contract. I don't want to say they were gracious enough, but it also was in my contract to pay my lost wages because that week that we were kind of in limbo there, I took that off from work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then my contract essentially starts over. So since I am staying with the family and we're doing another transfer, I still got my monthly allowance and then it started over. So I just started my injections a week and a half ago. So I got my medication fee and then monthly will start over again once I'm pregnant.
Okay. Okay. So that's pretty simple.
Yeah, that was a question I had though
Yeah.
when we were getting started. I would have done it regardless, but I asked, do they subtract what I got paid the first time? Like, how does that work?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, how does it work? So you had the 16-week loss. Now they have to pay you the next base for this coming, correct? Or how does that go? Or
Yeah, it's as if it's like if we had a failed transfer,
Right.
Okay.
got pregnant.
Very interesting. Oh, Tara, how'd it go for you? Because you're no longer with them.
right. And I had gotten paid already that week. And so nothing after that, everything stopped.
Got it. Okay. Okay. And then you terminated.
Yes, and then I was done with the contract. I contacted my lawyer.
Perfect. Okay. Okay. And then Alicia, I know you don't get compensated, but like you guys do have I'm assuming you guys have some form of contracts.
We have a very thorough contract.
Yeah. Yeah. So how does that work then for Canada? Like nothing has to really reboot, right? There's no new contract that comes into play.
Nope.
Okay. You just keep
So
going.
the contract stays the same, and it's just, we decide if we want to go ahead with another transfer or not.
Right.
And are you going ahead with
No.
No, Alicia's
my miscarriage was my first transfer.
Mhm.
And I had 4.
Right.
And so we were planning on doing a 5th this summer.
Right.
But instead, for a number of reasons, got told that it would be best to stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the same over there, but here, anytime as long as someone's not pregnant, anyone can break the match at any time without consequence.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I
Pretty
had a
much.
question about how something works in the States, especially because you were asking, who makes the decision about how to treat the miscarriage. And I was wondering, because I know that intended parents will typically purchase an insurance plan. So if you have a DNC or a DNE or like medication, is that all covered under the insurance, or are intended parents still paying out of pocket for that?
I haven't received a bill at all. My insurance took care of it.
Okay.
Same. I have surrogate friendly insurance. So I had some copays, but my parents saved a lot of money.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure if insurance tends to cover everything or just portions. So
I had copays for stuff, like they cover it, but there's still copays.
Like how
Did you cover the copays? Did you cover or did you get reimbursed?
Yeah, I just sent the bills to my agency and they paid them on behalf of the parents.
Okay. Because this is your actual insurance that you have just for your family, like, but it's surrogate friendly. Yeah. That did save them a lot of money.
And you live in California?
Yeah. What plan is that? Because
well, my employer is in Illinois, and so it covers.
Got it.
Oh,
Okay.
so that's the trick.
Canadians.
Okay.
How much are copays, or how much does that vary?
Are the copays?
Yeah.
Like, are those varies a lot.
Okay. The only time I ever have a copay is like if I go to the pharmacy, there's like a small copay pharmacy fee. It's like $6 or something.
That's because
everything else is covered under the Canadian. How you guys have your
almost, yeah. So medications are not covered. Like in my province, most medications are free for anyone 25 and younger. So my son's medications are covered. Most people have insurance through work. I'm self-employed, so I don't.
Okay.
So like I have to pay for my medication out of pocket.
Okay.
Which of course the intended parents would reimburse.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, Canada. Can you guys come teach the US how to do some health insurance?
People going bankrupt over being sick. Oh my gosh.
Oh my
No,
gosh.
it's wild. Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
That's wild. Well, lucky Canada. I do have a going from a laugh, but I do have a question that I wanted to ask earlier. And we'll wrap this up. But I believe Grace was saying like this feels so surreal, and I never thought that it would happen, like 1 in 4, and everything like that, and like what are the chances of it happening again type thing. Do you ladies have some form of worry? I don't want to call it PTSD, but it might be, but like some form of worry and like anxiety when it comes to moving forward? Or if not, how did you get past that?
Yeah.
I work very hard every day to stay positive.
Good.
And I don't want to say that it is hard. I should say instead, I make a conscious effort every day to think positively, especially since we have an actual transfer date and we're on the path and everything. I make a conscious effort every day to, I don't out loud ever say these things, but in my brain, I tell myself positive things about moving forward. I'm to manifest the outcome. And it's something that I've done with every pregnancy, but I'm doing it even more now. I think I said this in my story too. I'm not superstitious, but I am a little stitious. So I've been hung up on like, what outfit do I wear to my transfer? Because I wore the same outfit for the last 2 transfers. And I know that sounds really stupid, but this has been like something I've gone back and forth on. And I don't know if anybody's seen the Barbie movie, but it totally changed my life. I'm not even a Barbie girl. Like that is not the person I identify with in the movie, but it was so good. So if you've seen it,
Are you Ken enough? Is that who you identify? I identify as Ken enough because I am Ken. So like
You're dirty.
oh my gosh.
I bought the I am Knuff sweatshirt to wear to my embryo transfer because I have to remind myself that I am Knuff and
Oh my
I will
gosh.
do this.
I want it so bad. Me and my mom, I know we're going off, but me and my mom went together. I was like, you want to come see the Barbie movie with me? And so she did. And I was like, I walked out and I was like, that's the one thing that I want for Christmas. I just want a Knuff shirt. Like all I want.
Plug for Mattel.com. You can buy it now. It takes about 2 weeks to get to you.
There
Okay.
you go.
Sold. Oh my gosh, how cute.
Cute. And Tara, you just trying to remain positive?
I am thinking, I had thought, and it's really weird. After Grace had her 16-week loss, I was so scared. I was like, oh my gosh, 16 weeks. I was so scared of that week. And then that happened to me.
Yeah.
And now I'm thinking 1 in 4, I've already had it. It already happened to me. It's not going to happen again. That's why I keep telling myself it. And it was a like less than 1% chance of that happening, that I just do not believe that it will happen again. I'm so positive. And the next intended parents that I get are going to have beautiful quality eggs, and my lining is going to be perfect, and we're going to keep that baby until 40 weeks and hand that baby off. So
That's
I'm really
right.
positive for
Good for
this
you.
journey.
And they're going to be super supportive.
Yes, they're going to love me, care about me.
Yes, exactly.
As we all do. So yes, they are. Your people are out there, honey. Just
Yes,
they're
they
there.
are.
They're waiting for you.
Oh yeah.
They are. They are.
And Alicia, what about you?
Yeah.
I tried to be positive, but I definitely had a lot of anxiety moving forward with all of my next transfers. And I know that I'm going to have a hard time feeling as confident in a pregnancy until I am past that 12-week mark.
Yeah.
Until after I'm past like seeing a heartbeat at the 12-week mark, because the whole time I kept telling myself like, I'm pregnant today. I know that. And that motto won't work quite as well next time. But that being said, I had experienced all of that and I'm still willing to try again. So
Good for you.
I know what's involved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you ladies have any advice? I'm sure you do, for anybody out there that is going through something or is afraid to go through something like this?
I would say therapy in your contract, that you get therapy after something like this happens, that it is at least 5 sessions, because it's neat. I didn't get it, but I would have loved it. But make sure you have that coverage on there, that they'll take that in there, and reach out to me if you're watching this and you need someone to talk to.
Sweet.
That's great advice. I
That
will,
is great advice.
because I don't ever, you never
I think
of
it just
so.
it needs to be in contracts. That just needs to be
Yeah.
standard.
It should just be
It
basic.
really, it should be like in a package for a
Yeah.
search.
It wasn't in your contract?
No, I looked it over because I tried finding somebody, and there's nobody. I have great insurance, however, nobody in my area takes my insurance.
What?
So I was like, that is
Such
so
an extra
fucked
layer
for-
of complication.
Yeah.
and I'm not paying $298
Right.
a session.
No.
Like, I will manifest and work it out myself.
It's a big deal.
That was going to be my recommendation as well, is some kind of professional support. I did utilize my company's EAP program, and it was someone to immediately talk to, which was fantastic. And we had something else happen in our family that week, and that was just all compounded. So I don't know that I made any sense to the person that I was talking to on the other line, but just having someone that could listen, and maybe that I could not have to see in person
Right.
20 minutes later was amazing. Also, my agency, that is built into their contract, so they put me in touch with one of the people they do their psych screenings with. She's a licensed therapist and she's a former surrogate herself, so they put me in touch with her. And then I had signed up It's also very hard in my area to get like in-person therapy with somebody that takes my insurance. I don't know why mental health coverage is so terrible. So I put myself on a list, and it was like I was having my first post miscarriage period the day that I finally got in to see somebody with this place I had signed up with months before. So
How long did it take for you to get that? Because I'm still waiting.
this place,
No, for I meant for
think-
postpartum period.
oh, like 4 weeks.
I'm
4.5
still waiting.
weeks.
Should I like call my doctor and be like, hey, this is not happening. Could you help me?
Well, everybody's different.
I'm just so
I
worried
kinda-
that something's like left in there, but I doubt it at this
Did
point.
you
I
do
think
blood work after?
no, they didn't.
You
I
could
was
ask for peace of mind.
okay, like just to save my HCG level and stuff.
HCG,
I took
yeah,
a
as long
pregnancy
as your
and then-
HCG is low.
I took a pregnancy test and it was nothing on it. So I would assume that means no baby stuff is left. But
I was told that it can be normal for it to take a couple months to come back, especially you were further along.
oh my
Yeah,
god.
and maybe because your milk came in too.
Right. Ugh, here we go. Wait, no.
Interesting. Huh. See, all the things that nobody ever thinks about or is
Mhm.
even told about because it's just not talked about. Very interesting. Alicia, what's your advice?
I have more I guess I don't know, like advice for someone who actually finds themselves in that situation. Kind of just some things that I think would have made it easier for me. So for anyone who knows that they're going to miscarry at home, whether like naturally or with medication, I found that I'm going to get a little graphic. The bleeding came on really, really heavily, and I had so many clots that for me, unfortunately, just with the timing, I took the medication, and when it kicked in, it peaked at like 3 a.m. And so I like couldn't lie down without leaking. I had to keep running to the bathroom. And so I think just like adult diapers would just make the whole process so much more comfortable in that sense. I ruined a lot of underwear and like sheets that night. I also found that heat was really helpful for the cramps, especially medicated. The cramps tend to be a lot more intense. So they trigger contractions. And so a heat pad was really helpful. I had a heat blanket and a heat pad. And so it's kind of like burritoed with that. Medication around the clock. Just don't let it slip. Take your Advil, like, every 8 hours. So those were all things that were really helpful. I've also written down both of my experiences, a little more like factual in a timeline, and then along with like advice of what I would suggest to help be more comfortable. And so if anyone's ever needing to like help make a decision, I'm happy to just share that. Like I explain the process step by step of getting my DNC, just to know what to expect. So my inbox is always open. And I also host the Canadian surrogate support calls. Definitely not a replacement for therapy whatsoever. But like if anyone ever wanted to chat with others who've experienced the same, like same idea as the biggest ask. Actually helped us with it. But yeah, the calls are always open for topics like that. So
amazing. Well, honestly, thank you ladies and mom for sharing your stories. They're all
personal.
very different, they're very personal, and I think that there's so many ladies out there that haven't shared.
Right.
Not that they need to, I'm not saying
Mhm.
that, I'm just saying that, like you said, they feel isolated. So hopefully now they can reach out to you guys if they want to, or just hear other people's stories, know that they're not alone. So I
Right.
think this
And
is
know that
probably,
it's okay to talk about it.
yeah,
It is okay.
And it's okay to have any emotion that you have.
Absolutely.
I was angry. Oh my gosh. I was like furious about, I went through all the stages and anger was definitely, I was
Mhm.
so mad it happened.
I don't blame you.
Right.
I couldn't even guess what my emotions would be. I'm baffled that you're all standing. Honestly, it's a hard situation to go through.
Yeah.
And thank you all for sharing your stories
Yes.
because
Thank you.
it's
It's going to help some people. It really is.
yeah.
It is. It, and just to I don't want to normalize miscarriage, but yes, normalize miscarriage. Like it is a thing that happens, and it seems to be happening a little bit more frequently.
Or it's being shared more
Yeah, I
frequently.
think
guess.
it's being shared more.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
because I think
shared
it
more.
always happened.
It
It's
does.
just it was so taboo to talk about. Like,
Mhm.
oh no,
Right.
you're not the perfect womb. You're not the perfect woman. Like, no, we're perfect. We're fine. Like it's
Right.
like what
And
1
it,
in 4, is that what you said, Grace? It happens to 1 in 4. It is what it is. To make a baby,
yeah,
we've said this multiple times. Thousands and thousands of things have to go absolutely
absolutely correct.
Yep.
perfect.
Mhm.
When one thing is off and it's like a gamble. It's
Yep.
Yeah.
wild.
And that's why I look at my son. I'm like, I just cannot believe that you are here. Like you were perfect. Like all these things to align perfectly for you to be here. And it just makes me think a lot more about how this all goes together to make it truly a beautiful journey.
And Tara, don't forget it aligned 2 other times perfectly
It
for
did.
you too. So don't forget. Don't forget. You're still a hero. All of you are.
Yes.
Really, seriously.
And as interesting and deep of a conversation this was for our last Friday Facts of the year, it was wonderful to see you
Yes.
three ladies and speak with you three and end it with you guys. So
Yeah, thank you
really
all so very much.
I'm glad I could join. Thanks.
yeah,
Thank-
absolutely. We'll
Thank
see you
you
in the new
all.
year.
And good luck with the
Yay.
transfer, Grace. We'll be
Yeah,
thinking of
Thank
you.
you.
You're welcome.
All
Bye,
right.
guys.
Bye,
Bye.
ladies.
Bye.
Oh,
That was a tough one. That was just a lot of info. I felt so bad. I wanted to cry for all 3 of them. Like,
I know. It was off. It was awful. Like I cried because when people cry, I cry. So I was like, oh, awful.
I,
But like
know.
every single one of their stories is awful. I couldn't imagine. I don't even want to imagine. And that might just be selfish on my part, but I just don't even want to imagine going through something like that. But unfortunately, like it's clearly it's not just gonna happen in like in like my own pregnancies. Like, like women's own pregnancy. It happens in surrogacy. Like
Of course.
it's a thing that happens.
And I
So
don't want to say it's more or less of an impact in a surrogate journey versus your own
yeah, I
journey,
don't think
but in a surrogate journey, there just seems like there's more. It's more at risk, more at play, more at just because of the
or
financial
science
well, there's more financial aspects. There's another couple or an intended parents, or
or lives.
there's other family members of that intended person waiting for this baby. Just there's so many things. And it's not to say that a miscarriage in just a traditional family or a non-traditional family, not surrogacy, is any less important. It is important. I'm just saying it
No,
seems
it
like
is, but it seems like those are more accepted and easier to navigate because it's like, oh, there's probably support groups specific to that situation or
true.
or
And
something
then
like
And then
that.
they also can talk about they're having their rainbow baby. Like I think about all these
Yeah.
people that are on reality TV and they've had miscarriages. They don't talk about them much. They just announce we're expecting our rainbow baby. And so that there's a joy around that. What happens like in the situation we had to listen to for poor Tara? Like
And
that's not
Grace
gonna
and
but
Alicia.
but Grace is working with the same couple. Tara's not. Like that was a loss on all accounts, right? So
Right.
that's tough. It's tough. Yeah. And yeah, applaud every single one of them for how they got through it and for continuing to keep the positive attitude.
And how you said like, there's a rainbow baby, I don't know, our surrogate babies, even if they're not on the same thing, maybe they're just called sparkle babies because,
There you go.
like
I like that.
I like it too. They just sparkle. They bring the sparkle back, or whatever it is.
Yeah. I
So,
like it. Yeah.
thank you. Thank you. Well, ladies and everybody, thank you so much. We know that that conversation is a hard one, but definitely seems needed in this community.
Yeah.
We are sad that this is our last Friday Facts for the year, but we have others lined up for next year. It's just the holidays are coming up and everything. And so we will have definitely one podcast a week every Sunday. So tune into those. We have them booked through the end of the year. So
We have a
thank
couple
you.
webinars coming up too, right? Couple
We
of
just have one
lives.
more webinar. We have a webinar on
Oh,
October 23rd with Andrea Breiman. She's a psychologist. So if anybody, this would be perfect. So if
right?
anybody would like to come and speak and hear a psychologist speak on matters like this and other things that involve surrogacy, please join us on October 23rd at 4:45 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And the link is in my bio, and you guys can go ahead and just register. And it's on Zoom, and you don't have to show your face. You can just listen, just like a live podcast. Simple as that. You can ask questions, anything. So we hope to see you there. And
Looking forward to it.
yeah. Well, if anybody would like to share their story or have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me at Stop.Sit.Surrogate on Instagram.
It's been another edition of Stop.Sit.Surrogate Friday Facts with Kennedy and Ellen. Thanks for listening.
Bye,
Bye
guys.
everyone.